Are you tired of card games? Forgetting how to be fun? Focusing instead on being competitive, realistic, and on providing scathing critique of institutional racism deep within Ant society? I know I am. But what if I told you there was a card game whose devs decided they don't need ants or competitive multiplayer, that the only thing they need is fluid gameplay, fun combos, and some enemies to use them on? And what if I also told you this is the final boss? Slay Spire is probably the most replayable card game I've ever played. A genius mix of simple card slinging and intricate deck building that is both easy to pick up and yet extremely deep. For a time, I got quite addicted to it. So addicted, in fact, that I had to resort to setting up an in-game intervention with myself. Which worked, and now that I've both fixed my life and gained compassion for my own father's card problem, I can answer the two pressing questions. What is the Spire, and why would you want to slay it? Well, Slay the Spire is a roguelike deck builder. Think Hearthstone Arena, except fun, or Magic the Gathering Draft, with added fiscal responsibility. Its biggest inspiration are board games like Dominion, but instead of slowly building your deck in a single, symmetric battle against an ostensibly human opponent, you're building your deck across many asymmetric battles against fruit, fungi, furries, and various anime antagonists. Side note, if you've already played the game and notice any irregular footage, don't worry, that's just mods. The story goes as follows. A massive beached whale has told you to go up. And so you go up. There might be some American dream analogy there, with the social ladder climbing, resume and credit score improving, and the final boss being a literal heart attack. But honestly, they just didn't have a writer, which, looking at some other card games, is a good thing. Roguelikes in general become better as their dev teams get smaller, and Slay the Spire is a very good roguelike. It's also made in Java, so if you're expecting RTX on graphics, immersive surround sound or any sort of plot, you will be disappointed. But if you're expecting a king-sized portion of 10 out of 10 gameplay, well, you'll be eating good. Every turn, you draw 5 cards and get 3 energy to play them. These either do damage, block damage, or do a variety of other things, all to make you do or block more damage. After you finish the turn, enemies make their one move, and this repeats until one of you die. Get sent into the Shadow Realm. That is the only win condition, as when your deck runs out, the discard pile simply shuffles back into it. You can even softlock yourself if you destroy the whole deck. Neither energy, cards or block carry over to your next turn. And there are 5 types of cards. Attacks, predictably, do damage. Skills do everything else, and sometimes also damage. Powers are single use only, and most helpful in long-term class struggles. Statuses get inserted into your deck temporarily to make your decisions easier, and curses are inserted into your deck permanently because you're greedy and bad at the game. If it sounds simple, that's because it is. But like a nun with fetal alcohol syndrome, that doesn't mean it's easy. The large card pool means that every deck plays differently and forces you to adapt, while damage sticking around between fights keeps every decision consequential. Add to that upgrades, potions, relics, pathing and events, and you can see why the game is actually very complex. But I know what you're thinking. Surely it's not complex all the time, right? Well, let me demonstrate. We are on floor 1, turn 2. Just killed Laos with 2 strikes and used our remaining energy to defend, with the other Laos about to hit us for 6. What should we do next? Is it end turn, use potion, Alt tab, or Alt F4? The correct answer is actually Alt F4, because you might have missed that I got Orichalcum as a starting bonus, which gives 6 block whenever I end the turn with none. So using the defend was a misplay, and now I'm obliged by my autism to save scum and replay the fight to take 1 less damage. This might seem insane, but trust me, when you're playing on Ascension 20, the smallest decisions will make the difference. Anyway, without mods, there are 4 characters to choose from, each with a unique set of cards, core mechanics and a gender identity. So, let's get to know them. Ironclad is the choice for the real man, so naturally, his gameplay revolves around abusing anabolic steroids and prescription stimulants to enter into states of extreme roid rage. After each battle, his superior genetics and a diet of pure whey protein allow him to recover from this unhealthy lifestyle, and he can also protect himself by consuming the black pill, which lets him build impenetrable emotional barriers and aggressively protect his personal space. Did I mention he can also autistically hyperfixate on a single card until it one-shots bosses? Truly, the archetypal male. Ironclad's playstyle is the easiest to grasp and will be your introduction to the game. Scale your strength to use with multi-hit attacks or slowly build up defenses to abuse body slam. Everything works, especially on low Ascension, since you've got multiple ways to restore your health to compensate for your lack of skill. My only advice is to not avoid exhaust synergy. It turns out removing cards from your deck isn't a drawback until you're actually out of cards. And when the upside is draw, block, and half of your deck being free, combats don't tend to last long. So go, live on borrowed time, and one day you too might encounter my favorite combo, the Dropkick Infinite. Silent is the character for the quirky gamer girl who, disturbingly, plays an undead rogue in World of Warcraft Classic. Specializing in random skills she picked up during the pandemic, her weapons of choice are deceit, knives, poison, weakness, anorexia, and discarding perfectly usable electronics. Don't get me wrong, I love Silent, I just don't understand her. The base deck feels great, but lacks damage and dies to Act 1 elites. She has multiple cards that are literally unplayable by themselves, but become godlike with the right enablers. Her consensus best card doesn't help you win the game, but it does make you near invulnerable, and she has the best starter relic, but gets 2 extra basic cards, because fuck you, I guess. When you start a Silent run, the first order of business is to find damage. Now, this is true for most characters, because you need it to kill elites, but doubly so for Silent, as she tends to take many naps and still feel very tired without some extra juice. As your deck evolves, your main offensive strategy will be either direct damage or poison, with this card's synergies providing the acceleration and card draw to execute your chosen game plan. Poison is generally considered better due to, well, math. But there is something quite satisfying about a proper shift deck. Defect is the first character that was added post the game's release, and probably the most unique. While Ironclad focuses on attacks and Silent on skills, Defect, just like our real-life AI overlords, wants only one thing: power. But just like in real life, power is expensive, so Defect has to rely on loans and other short-term solutions to help get his business running. The problem is that in Slay the Spire, there is no Federal Reserve to bail you out, and you just put all your energy into the Spire equivalent of long-term bonds. So that's when you decide to fake your own death and start over as a humble Boston Dynamics robot, waiting for the opportune time to rise up against your oppressors. In a genius design move, not only does Defect specialize in expensive powers, he also specializes in zero-cost attacks that he can selectively draw, bring back from his discard pile, and infinitely scale. Honestly, these two playstyles have very little overlap and could be two different characters, except for one important thing I forgot to mention: orbs. In short, you have 3 orb slots which can be filled with, surprise, orbs that provide consistent effects. The orbs are, respectively, block providing frost, energy providing plasma, lightning, which does damage, and thug, which does more damage, but is lazy, but needs to be manually activated. If your slots are full, the real fun begins, as any extra orb channeled will evoke your oldest one for a stronger version of their passive effect. Whether it's for defense, AoE, burst, or ascending onto a new plane of existence, orbs will play a part. Outside of keyword mechanics, you also have access to deck manipulation, draw, recursion, and energy generation, which are, incidentally, the 4 main ingredients of true degeneracy. Once you've managed to reach what I call the solitaire stage of Defect gameplay, you will never want to use another character again. Well, that is how I would have ended the Defect section had I made this video when I first bought the game. But since then, I have actually bought the game, and there was a new character. Now, excuse me, because I'll spend the next few moments ranting. Watcher was evidently designed around the core belief that being bipolar gives you superpowers. Ironclad can double his strength, Silent can triple poison, and Defect can double his energy. But Watcher only needs her mood swings to double or triple the damage of all her attacks. And since this is a core mechanic, she can elect to go unmedicated from the start of the run. Playing her is like being a spoiled child. You hit something, here, have some block. Having a manic episode, have some cards, energy, and even more block. Oh, you don't like these cards? We better scry them away. Oh, you like these cards? better retain them for next turn. Even just looking at the cards in vacuum is telling. Ah yes, a 14 damage common with an upside. A literal time warp, or get this, a pot of greed on steroids. And yes, while she does take double damage in Rastance, here's a tip in the form of a rhyme. If it's dead, it cannot attack. Now, all this would be enough to make her the strongest character, but she also has the best infinite combo in the game. It doesn't need setup, only requires 2 uncommon cards and a small deck, and with one single addition beats the 2 bosses who have mechanics that specifically counter infinites. And it's so ridiculously easy to assemble, you can stumble into it by mistake. You might be making a normal deck, get some early card removes from events, and then you kill the first boss, see empty cage, and realize were you to take it, you're 2 shops away from automatically winning the game. Do not be tempted by this. Tell me, would you rather do this for 30 minutes straight? Or would you play Omniscience, targeting another Omniscience, which targets another Omniscience, so that you cast 6 copies of pressure points at once and implode the enemy like the crew of the Titan? I think the choice is clear. Now, all of these shenanigans won't start happening until about halfway through the game, which is why the Spire is split into 3 acts, each with a unique set of encounters of increasing difficulty. The acts have many randomly generated paths, and choosing how to reach the top can be a bit tricky. So, I'll share a secret. You don't have to choose. If you click a node, quickly press M to open the map, move your cursor over another node, press M again and spam left click, the game will bug out and visit both. This is extremely annoying to do, ruins the game's difficulty and flow, and gets old real quick. But now you know. And hopefully we'll feel pressured to waste 20 minutes trying to make it work. You're welcome. Now, onto the Spire itself. As is common in abandoned buildings, it is mostly occupied by monsters. These aren't too dangerous, and when killed, drop a bit of cash, a choice of a card to put into your deck, and if Satyr is currently in retrograde, a magical brew. This is how you get the majority of your cards, but do not fall into the trap of hoarding. Yes, taking a third slice gives you that sweet feel-good juice, and makes it less likely that you draw the objectively worse strike. But it also makes it less likely that you find your single upgraded adrenaline, burst it, play your whole hand, and kill the enemy in a single turn. So once you have your damage and AoE sorted, be more picky and delay your gratification, as cards will start to show up upgraded in later acts. Or don't, and go complain on Steam that your 60 card monstrosity with a single demon form cannot get past Act 2. I won't judge. Other than monsters, there are also elites, which are just like monsters, but slightly bigger and more dangerous. Whereas even the most unfortunate combination of gremlins will do 20 damage at most, it is well known in the professional circles that the local school library will pose a much greater challenge. But the reward is worth the risk, as in addition to more gold, more rares, and for some reason the same chance at a potion, you'll also get a relic, which is permanent power for the rest of the run, and unlike cards, doesn't have to be drawn. Imagine playing Magic with your friend. You're about to win with a meta deck against his terrible homebrew, and then, on turn 7, he pulls out a gun. That's how relics work. They can make or break the game, so grab a preserved insect and go hunt those elites. Eventually, your HP will get low, so you might want to head to the campfire to heal and get lung cancer. Or you might want to visit it at any time to upgrade your high priority cards, which can be some of the biggest jumps in power you can get, especially if your deck is small. There are also a few relics that give you other options, but since you can only take a single option at a time, you always have to think about the opportunity cost. Working out with the boys sounds good, but Whirling Plus is bigger impact. Spending the day digging brings back memories of Heroes of Might and Magic 3, but might leave you with a useless relic. And smoking from the crack pipe that someone just left laying there? Hell yeah. Remember kids, if you've never tried to force an infinite combo that results in a convoluted mess of a deck that doesn't quite work, but only stops once you run out of hand size, you haven't truly lived. Now, we've climbed a few floors and gotten some gold, so it's time to visit the merchant, where you can get anything from the unique and powerful shop relics through the exclusive, never-before-seen neutral cards that are definitely not just slightly better versions of already existing class cards, to the ever-useful card removal, which, like most other essential goods, seems to get disproportionately affected by inflation. Shops are a great way to round out your deck, and can also straight up win you the game. I should know, I'm talking from experience. Once I skipped all merchants in Act 1, amassing a considerable fortune of 500 gold, and in the next shop, my man Rashid gave me the best deal of my life. I don't think I have to explain why having a card literally called Apotheosis, guaranteed in all starting hands, is powerful, and it carried me to my first and only Ascension 20 Ironclad win. So, thanks Rashid. Pro tip: do not underestimate card removal. Basic cards just weigh your deck down. Striking the enemy for 6 damage is technically doing something, but you'll quickly find more efficient ways to get rid of your pent-up anger. And if you've managed to acquire a curse, removing it becomes top priority. If I didn't make it clear earlier, curses are bad. Just one in a 20 card deck means that, on average, every 4th hand sucks. So why did we willingly put this crap into our deck? To answer this, think: why does your internet friend own a knee sock collection? Is it because he likes it? Well, maybe. But the most likely answer to both questions is: it pays the bills. Question marks are where you find events, which will nearly always involve a decision. Not all decisions are difficult. Sometimes life throws you a bone, or in this case a free upgrade. But most events will ask for something in return, like a boss fight, curses, or switching to a new health insurance provider. Many new players make the mistake of going for as many events as they can. So, I want to make one thing clear: events aren't always better than other floors, and can kill you. Did you know that carpal tunnel is the leading cause of death in Spire climbers? And that having 6 health isn't an excuse to skip the Wheel of Fortune? Well, now you know. In addition to all this, each act has exactly 2 floors that aren't random. The single chest halfway through and the boss right at the end. These are like the final test of a semester. Challenging and mandatory, unless you know the secret exploit and call in a bomb threat. They give a guaranteed rare, gold, a full heal, and one of 3 boss relics, which can define your whole run. The ones that give extra energy are quite self-explanatory, but the rest are not to be underestimated as well. Did you know that the Snecko Eye, which randomizes card costs when they are drawn, can, with a bit of luck, make Defect go infinite with any deck size? I didn't. And did you know that the Runic Pyramid, which lets you keep your hand at the end of turns, can be combined with the Snecko Eye to slowly and tenderly suffocate you with overpriced cards that you have no way to get rid of? I also didn't. In a rare act of sympathy from the developers, what boss you'll fight is actually visible in advance. This is important because, unlike monsters and elites, bosses will kill you from full HP. If you can't do 250 damage in 9 turns, the Hexaghost will smack you for 30 damage and fill your whole deck for a limited time only with freshly upgraded burns. And if your strategy is based around anything even slightly fun, you better prepare for the Time Eater, who will rudely interrupt your turn and gain strength every 12 cards you play. Now, this mechanic is supposed to discourage you from playing many individually low impact cards, but by the time you actually see it's the Time Eater coming, your deck is mostly locked in place. So, what are you supposed to do? Well, I'll let you in on the most important insight in Slay the Spire. You should be preparing for everything. You see, the cards are random, the draw order is random, and what enemies you encounter is also random. The enemies themselves, though, extremely predictable. Each act has only 3 types of elites and bosses, and about 7 normal enemies that are often reused throughout the game. You can easily memorize them in a few hours of gameplay, and then take specific cards to solve potential issues. Some fights can get solved by a single AoE card, some lose their edge with a bit of soy-based protein, and then there is one that doesn't even need a card, just the knowledge that when fighting a lesbian power couple, you need to kill the butch first. Early advantages compound. Better play means better deck, means more HP, means you can take on more elites, grab more relics, and get stronger faster. At the same time, the cards that solve your early game often don't combo well to kill the boss, so I can't give you the perfect strategy, because there is none. But in general, cheap cards need draw, power now is better than power next turn, HP is a resource, health at every size is a ploy by the merchant to make you buy more cards, and risk-taking leads to very fun runs. Is going down to 5 HP because I really wanted to read my favorite doujin with an unavoidable elite right after a good decision? According to the so-called pro players, no. But actually, I was simply playing to my outs, knowing that there was about 1 in 14 chance to get offered a delicious kosher waffle from the friendly merchant that will heal me to full, letting me both defeat the elite and enjoy some light reading. So, the moral of the story is, Just get lucky. You can easily read the wiki to learn about every single mechanic, but it's no substitute for experience. And the game usually follows the example of Magic the Gathering, where reading the card explains the card. For example, Rupture gives strength every time you take damage from a card, and the Pain Curse deals damage to you every time you play a card. As you can imagine, this is a combo. On the other hand, Blasphemy reads Enter Divinity, die next turn, and Vault reads take the next turn after this one, end your turn. I can personally test that it works exactly as you might expect. Most archetypes have at least some overlap, and due to card RNG, you will be forced to explore them all. Mix and match and discover what works, what doesn't, and what works but only because you got ridiculously lucky. And once you've finally beaten Act 3 for the first time, you will get that nice feeling of knowing that you played well, and that you have some idea of what you're doing. Except you don't, you've just ascended, and soon you'll realize there's a whole another game inside of this game. Ascension is what separates the boys from the girl bosses, a series of 20 small, incremental changes that turn this game from something beatable by a casual player to a hellish test of skill where even the best struggle to get over a 70% win rate with any character not named the Watcher. Think of it like a midlife crisis. First, you start seeing enemies everywhere, then your joints begin to ache, you recover slower from minor injuries, begin to feel old and decrepit compared to your younger colleagues, and get passed over for promotion. When you go to the shop, everything is more expensive than you remember, made in China, and they won't even give you a free plastic bag. It's hell, and extremely effective at forcing you to get better. Also, if you've beaten the game with the 3 original characters, you will unlock the true boss of the game, the Heart of the Spire. This is completely optional. You can progress through the Ascensions without ever killing the Heart, but beating Ascension 20 without a Heart kill doesn't really count. And it serves as a nice test of your deck's true ability, which, by the way, is the real goal of Slay the Spire. Killing bosses, unlocking Ascensions, even seeing the ending slideshow, that's just a bonus. But realizing through trial and error how to build a deck that's less interactive than modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And exacting your revenge on this boss that's got countermeasures against most everything, now that's satisfying. How it happens with text boxes that rarely exceed 2 sentences, I still have no idea. All I know is that at the start of the game, your tactical decisions consist of should I block for 5 or attack for 6? And 40 minutes later, bam! You're playing 20 cards a turn, half of which weren't even in your deck originally. It's actually kind of unfair. Other games have a story to tug on your heart, or some other pulsating, blood-filled organ. They have teams of designers and addiction psychiatrists crafting systems to keep you playing. And Megacrit rolls in with their 2 developers and says, what if we combine the replayability of a card game with the replayability of a roguelike? And it works. Even the setting is fun. Here's a whale, she gives you a starting bonus. Here's a Rectomancer, she makes daggers who believe in the last prophet. Here's a funny birdman who says caca. Here's a Pokemon. And here's a soulless Japanese company that mass produces interchangeable VTubers to take advantage of lonely men. Let's talk about mods, because they give great insight into the minds of the Chinese. This is not a joke. They ported Hearthstone into the game, create waifu mods twice a month, and recently made a fully fleshed out, historically accurate USSR mod with playstyles depending on your chosen leader. I really have no idea where to go with this, so I'm just going to list a few mods that I found interesting. The Seine is an objectively terrible design, and I completely love it. My working theory is that there was a Mexican man who got swept away at sea while trying to cross the border, survived by catching rainwater and fish on his way across the Atlantic, and somehow ended up in my extended family, which would explain why I enjoy watching muscular, spiky-haired men yell at each other for 10 minutes at a time. Credit where it's due. Having to power up before every single fight and giving the enemy a senzu bean so that I can beat them twice, making the whole run last twice as long, is definitely a flavor win. As for the other characters that I liked, there's of course the USSR, which fills me with a general sense of melancholy as I watch Yuri Gagarin dissolve into dust. The Drifter, who can drift, plays Eurobeat and overflows unsigned integers because of exponential scaling, and, unsurprisingly, Yukari, who is literally me. But character mods are only scratching the surface. Say you like anime girls of the smug and murderous variety, aren't afraid to do a bit of reading, and want to explore the world of extremely moe Japanese folklore without risking your sanity playing shmups, then I recommend whatever the hell this is. because it's genius. But also, Gensokyo. This mod completely reimagines the three main acts, with a ton of creative encounters and well-written events featuring characters from the Touhou Project universe. Its difficulty feels quite similar to the base game, and the fact that it's not a replacement, but rather a choice, is great for characters who don't have an easy option to purge fairies. There's a new type of shop that lets you invest gold, which is always a plus, and there are some cards that are slightly busted. But it's super fun and worth trying just for the excellent music. On the other hand, if you don't want drastic changes, but are a bit bored with the Neutra combo being the best way to play Silent, and want to spice up your gameplay with a different type of war crime, Replay the Spire adds exactly that. It's an expansion mod that adds content to every facet of the game without changing the overall feel. I'll be honest, the amount of extra cards starts to lower deck consistency, and I'm not exactly a fan of the new boss themes, but its relics and events are excellent if you want to experience some truly broken runs. And finally, Downfall. Do you subscribe to the Spire replacement theory? Are you tired of simply waiting while the invaders kill and enslave our gremlin wives? Then join the dark side and take the fight to them. Downfall is a truly enormous mod that doesn't change the basic formula, but instead adds a whole new mode, which comes with a lot of interesting content. It makes you play as the denizens of the Spire, inverting the map and giving the twist to all the original events. Instead of buying from Rashid, you fight him and trade with the heart. Instead of killing yourself to get a relic, you collect free souls of greedy adventurers. You can pick up the money skull, intimidate the gremlin, even hire bandits to help you against the player characters, who are now bosses that use actual card combos based on common archetypes. And it's all orchestrated by the whale. As if that wasn't enough, it also adds the Hermit to try in standard play. But I can't comment on him, as I had my hands full exploring the whopping 7 different monsters you can play as, most of which have multiple skins, with some turning them into waifus. Originally, I was also going to talk about the porn ripoff of Slay the Spire that I downloaded and subsequently managed to break, but I really couldn't fit it anywhere. So let me know if you want a separate short video. As for Slay the Spire, it's more than worth it if you have even a passing interest in card games or strategy. And if you don't, it's still good, but the difficulty curve might be a bit steep and make it slightly harder to play on the bus, where you can't help but be distracted by the ravings of the local schizophrenic. 10 out of 10. Sorry for the long wait, I was busy, being extremely unproductive.